I'm here today to talk about events on the 14th of February 2015. The day was a Saturday, and just around 8 o'clock in the morning, police and other emergency services received numerous calls about a multiple vehicle collision on the M40. The location was given anywhere ranging from Junction 6, which is the canyon on the M40, through to Banbury. As a result, we had numerous scenes to try and assess. We sent officers from our Bicester roads policing base initially, and they came across a crash about half a mile north of Junction 9. The scene was dense fog. Literally, our officers described it as a blanket being pulled over their face. You couldn't see very far at all. When officers got to the scene, they found absolute carnage. There were about 50 vehicles all squashed together and numerous people milling around on the road. There was one person still trapped in their vehicle, and the fire service had quite a big job to release them. There was a number of people who were injured, 50 people with minor injuries who were walking wounded, 7 with what the ambulance service described as critical injuries, and the tragedy was one person died in the collision as well, and they died at the scene. The officers who got there first had a really difficult scene to get to grips with, understand what had happened and what was going on. And importantly, one of the critical things they did initially was call for help. They started mobilising resources from across the force, and that was not only roads policing but local officers as well, and they quickly declared a major incident. That was really useful for us because it enabled the police to get support from the local authority, and Oxfordshire County Council mobilised their emergency planning team.
My role as a senior investigating officer is to direct and oversee investigations into the more serious and fatal collisions. I work within the Serious Collision Investigation Unit within Thames Valley and Hampshire Police Constabulary, and this investigation itself was particularly challenging because of the large scale and number of vehicles and people that were involved. We set about our investigation to establish the full facts of the collision with a view to determining how and why the collision happened. And one of our main priorities was to ensure that the family of the person who died were always kept up to date, and we put a family liaison officer in to them early on in the investigation. The forensic collision investigator would have put these vehicles back together to try and do a mechanical fit, looking at paint transfer and damage to the vehicles, with a view to then doing a digital reconstruction to try and assist the investigation team to establish a fuller picture of how that collision happened.
The investigation worked out that one of the main factors in the collision was the fog. There are a number of smaller things within that contributed. Some of the drivers involved were driving far too fast for the conditions, and it's really important for people to drive to what they can see in front. So whether it's rain, ice, fog or snow, drive to the conditions. If you can't see, you need to be slowing down or even stopping. It's really important for people to follow some simple steps when they're driving. The first key one is drive to the conditions. If you can't see what's ahead of you, whether it be through snow, ice, fog or rain, just slow down. Really simple tip, but not everyone does. It's also important to plan your journeys. That's not just physically planning the route you're going to take and building in enough rest stops, but it's making sure you carry the right equipment with you. On a hot day, you might want to take water. On a cold day, you might want to pack a blanket. Take a high visibility jacket in case you break down. And if you can, take a first aid kit or a fire extinguisher. You might save someone's life with them.